Hello, everyone. We're going to do just a brief lecture on an important literary concept called imagery, right? So you're probably obviously familiar with the term, but let's kind of define a few specifics. More importantly, of course, imagery could relate to poetry. That's kind of where you hear it more, but it's also fiction and any kind of writing. So it's an author's use of vivid and descriptive language to add depth to his or her work, right? So it appeals to human senses to deepen the reader's understanding of the work. There are seven types of imagery, each corresponding to a human sense, feeling, or action. So visual imagery, of course, pertains to sight, allows you to visualize events, places, characters, and so forth in a work. Auditory imagery pertains to sound, right? So the kind of imagery often comes in the form of onomatopoeia or to describe sound. How do you describe a sound other than like boom, right? Obviously, authors are going to try to be more creative, so we want to pay attention to auditory imagery. Olfactory imagery pertains to odor. So if you're an author, how do you describe an odor? Gustatory imagery pertains to taste. So if you want your characters to have this sensation, right, how do you describe it? And then, of course, tactile, right, pertains to touch, right? So how do you don't, bad authors are going to use like coarse, but like good authors are going to move beyond just single lines, right? Single words to describe a touch. So how do you describe that, right? Besides being like rough or not rough, right? Smooth or rough. So, these kind of forms of imagery are crucial because how do you create vivid and descriptive language that communicates the human senses, right? That really shows what characters are seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and feeling. The other aspects, again, with movement. How do you describe movement, right? Kinetic imagery, right? Pertains to movement, action, right? Again, you don't just want to be like, he ran quickly, right? How do we vividly describe something like that? And then, of course, the last one is organic, right? All the other aspects, feelings of the body, thoughts in the mind, right? Hunger, love, hate, fatigue, right? So forth. How do you describe these emotions? How do you describe the feelings or thoughts, right, of a character? So imagery again is crucial, right, to create writing, right, to create fun writing. Authors will use imagery to not just again have blank descriptions, but to have vivid descriptions. And they will take on any or all of these forms of imagery, sometimes they will overlap, in order to create, interesting works, interesting characters, and so forth. So again, it's important to kind of break down what imagery is, right, as a literary device, and think about how it's applied. So what we'll do is work with these forms of imageries and see how authors use them throughout a specific passage in text. Obviously, if you have questions, again, always post them to the forum. If you need alternative formats, always contact ARC. If not, just good luck with all the other assignments and take care.